Unauthorized opinions expressed on the internet would be censored.
We are live. We are live. This is real. Welcome back to Unauthorized Opinions, UOPod.com. Like, share, subscribe.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way.
I literally went to the polls with nothing in mind. I saw a can of orange soda in the parking lot. And I was like, yeah, there we go. An unopened can of orange soda just chilling in the parking lot. I was like, yeah, I got to vote for Trump, dude.
Your podcast sucks. It's mental, mate. It's absolutely mental.
I'll be honest, I thought it was kind of offensive when you talk so much about the Loch Ness Monster.
Political climate.
And Andrew, treat yourself, okay? Especially if you start, I don't know, getting in good with homeless people.
Unauthorized Opinions, streaming everywhere at uopod.com. Cock-a-doodly-doodly-doo, man. We're back. We're back, everybody. We're back in full effect. We think everything's fine. We think everything's fine. No, not in the mood for the Trump impression today. Not in the mood for a lot of things today. We're a little bit rattled. We're rattled because the Kamala Harris campaign is doing so well. That's what I want to focus on off the top here. The white dudes for Harris. You've seen it, you know it, hopefully, and you probably love it. That's what I'm thinking, is that you probably love it. You've always thought, as a white guy, that there wasn't a movement for you. You were probably told, as a white liberal guy, add that in there, you were probably told that a racialized movement isn't for you, and that you don't get to have one of those because your entire racialized movement has been the Western world for the past 250 years to 500, depending on how far back you have grievances with. Correct grievances, of course. But now that white dudes for Harris, is in full effect, now that that glass ceiling's been broken, we can all look at that campaign and say, hey, this works for me. This is how I feel. This is exactly what, I identify exactly with what this probably 22-year-old marketing graduate thinks appeals to white guys in the year 1998. And that's what we have, and I'd like to bring up that ad for you guys. Brian Metzger, who's not Kurt Metzger, says white dudes for Harris is spending $10 million running this digital ad on YouTube and streaming services in Michigan, Wisconsin, PA. I think we're all pretty sick of hearing how much we suck every time you go online. It's the same story. We're the problem. Is a quote from somewhere. I'm not sure. Let's play the ad. And I have a feeling we're all going to relate to it. Because why wouldn't we? We've been looking for a movement, a left-wing movement, to come together around in favor of a black woman. It makes a lot of sense.
Hey, white dudes. So, I think we're all pretty sick of hearing how much we suck. Every time you go online, it's the same story. We're the problem. And yeah, some white dudes are. Trump and all his MAGA buddies are out there making it worse, shouting nonsense in their stupid red hats and acting like they speak for us when they don't.
All right, pause here, obviously. It started off correct. You're being told you suck. And then the correct response I'm getting from the Kamala ad is, I don't suck. Other white people suck. The people that suck aren't actually... I guess it's kind of a good message if we can break character here for a second. Some white people suck. You shouldn't think you suck. It's actually a message that's saying, racism against white guys, saying that they're the problem in society, is wrong. But at the same... It's interesting that they would then say Kamala Harris is the choice, even though that's where that stuff comes from.
All they've ever done is screw us over. But if you're not on the MAGA train, where do you go? Isn't it just swapping out one crappy option for another? Then it hit me. This isn't about picking teams. It's about who's got a plan that's gonna make life better for me and my family. So I've been doing my own research and decided to check out Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And before you jump down my throat, they're actually talking to guys like us. No lectures, no BS. Just real solutions that protect our freedoms and help us take care of the people who matter. And honestly, I think Harris and Walz are the ones to make that happen. End of the day, you're your own man. It's your call. But If anyone gives you crap about it, tell them it's none of their damn business.
So it's a very interesting ad. It doesn't make much sense, and here's why. So some white guys are bad, is what the commercial's saying. We concede that, and those are all the Trump guys. In this New Yorker, Italian working class guy's voice, he tells you, some white guys are bad. They're all Trump guys. They've never done anything for us. And then he turns around and says, I've done my own research. Therefore, you probably don't have to. And I've come up with the idea that the Democrats, Tim Walz and Kamala Harris, are the ones who will get you out of this. They show a grocery bill, they show family, they show military. So judging by that, you would think that the people who created this commercial would say that the Democratic Party is actually the one for the military. They're actually the ones for keeping families together, promoting families, and lowering costs of living. Of course, none of that is true. Now, while the Democrats may love war, more so than Republican supporters, a lot of the Republicans in office do love war, but the average Democrat supporter supports the war in Ukraine, supports the war in Israel and Gaza. Gaza must be free. They must fight back, right? They're more in line with the war hawk policies than the average Republican voter. And then the family part, of course, the average liberal and Democrat voter doesn't believe in that. They say you shouldn't have children because of climate change. You should have tons of abortion. Being alone at 55 and being Chelsea Handler is awesome. And also, of course, at the same time, they think the military is too macho, it's too harmful, even while supporting wars. Stay with me here. And that the military type of person is actually not a good person. They don't believe in America at all in many cases. So to then say that that party is actually for them in the New Yorker Boston accent, which is actually a party that is so obviously against the person whose voice it is, and so obviously against the people that they've shown in the video. Black Lives Matter does not support the nuclear family. I would say that the BLM is obviously more in line with Democrats, and Democrats have more obviously aligned themselves with movements like BLM. They say this is actually, you've got it all wrong, you've got it all in reverse. I'm a New Yorker tough guy with a gravelly voice. Hey, you should believe in Walz and Harris, because they're actually the ones that will get your energy prices down, your food prices down, make the military stronger, make families stronger, even though we have, 4 years already of showing that they are doing the opposite of that. You should still vote for them anyways. Then at the end it says, hey, if they have a problem with that, tell them it's none of their damn business, which means don't talk about it. Because what might happen if you talk about it is you might be convinced that you are incorrect. If this guy indeed did his own research, which he did not do on any of those topics that he's saying, they're actually the better team in that. So it starts off with a little bit of an admittance there that it's wrong to categorize all white guys as being the political problem, no matter what side you're on. And then it goes, actually, it's just the Trump supporters that are the problem. White guys who are Trump supporters are the problem, and they've been screwing us over. No specifics there. But this is how they think men think. This is why the majority of men do not vote for Democrats, because Democrats are inherently a more feminine point of view. Everything about your feelings, you can't be mean, and the actual results don't matter as much as long as you have good intentions, as long as you say you have good intentions. Appealing to the emotions appeals to a younger and more female audience. So when they say this and they say at the end, tell them that's none of their damn business, you're saying don't talk to them because other people might rebuke what you're saying. And that is sort of the Democrat way, is say all these things, be very definitive in these things, and say you've done all the research, but don't actually talk about it. We can't actually have a discussion. So that right there at the end is the icing on the cake of how the Democrats operate. We have all the answers. It's not actually us that's the problem. These specific white people over here are the problem. And I know everything that I'm talking about. I know I have the right choice. Ignore the other stuff that says completely the opposite. Ignore your instinct to say that, the Democrats aren't the party of family and the military. I don't think any left-wing person who's genuinely left-wing would say that or any person who's not a left-wing Democrat, a communist, a fascist, a Republican, a constitutionalist, a nationalist, any person, I would wager say over 90% of them, if you ask them, is the Democrat Party the best party for supporting families like the nuclear family and the military? I don't think more than 5 people out of 100 would say yes, they are. But they say they are, so you should believe them, but don't talk about it at all. That's the great part at the end there.
You're your own man. It's your call. But if anyone gives you crap about it, tell them it's none of their damn business.
Paid for by Beige Rainbow Pack, whatever that means. It's got the very, if this was 2002 and nobody knew anything about politics and they said do something that appeals to Gen X men who, make their point by swearing, like Michael Rappaport, Dean Blundell if you're in Canada, Joe Scarborough, people like that, where they try to make this, Bill Burr, they make this really bold, they make this statement and they curse in it and they say these guys are fucking idiots. What Bill Burr does on every podcast. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just a guy. I don't know what I'm talking about, so you can't know what you're talking about. Neither of us are experts. Nobody can know. So they make this profanity-laden diatribe where they call somebody stupid, but then admit that they're stupid to disarm people. Because if I'm saying I'm stupid, then it must lend some credence to me calling you stupid. And then at the end they say they don't actually know and they don't want to talk about it. That's what this commercial is. The very Gen X, loud, I'm stupid, but you're also stupid. Nobody can actually know anything point of view to appeal to men. We're all stupid, so you might as well just go with this choice, and I don't have any reason for it, but I'm going to tell you, white guys suck. I get it. We all suck, but it's actually the Trump white guys, so you should just believe what I'm saying here, because I'm stupid and you're stupid, but I've actually done the research, so just believe me. This is the best they could come up with, like it was 20 years ago. I don't see where any guys that are younger than 40-ish, 45-ish this would appeal to. But if you're the type of fan who listens to, Michael Rappaport, you think he's hilarious. And like I said, if you're in Canada, Dean Blundell, you think he's hilarious. Joe Scarborough, if you think he's hilarious. Who's the other crazy guy who yells at everybody who's on MSNBC? Bill Burr, if you think he's hilarious, which he is funny, but when he talks about issues, he does sound like that. If that's the type of person, then maybe you'll sway to that, but more likely, the people that they're reaching out to are the people who are in the middle somewhere and they don't really care about voting, they don't pay attention to politics. That's who they're hoping they will pull in with that piece. Now, who is a white guy for Kamala Harris? We can assume those are trans women, excuse me. And at a Matt Gaetz event, Tim Waltz, Matt Gaetz, and I think I saw Tim Young here, Tim Runs His Mouth, who he's a comedian, but I haven't really followed him before. I know he's married to another influencer girl, but he's a comedian. I never really watched it. Maybe I should. He's got a big following, though, 1 million. To me, a cryptic, not cryptic, like an under-the-radar 1 million followers. And that's a huge audience. I'm not ragging on him for it, but he posted on X, an obese trans person tried to storm the stage during a Matt Gaetz speech today. They were immediately removed. Wait for Gaetz at the end.
Dude, this is a very strange individual doing this.
That is a morbidly obese guy in a skirt. I don't know if he's wearing anything underneath. He's got fishnet stockings, a wig on, and he's got the body of Kyle Gass from Tenacious D.
Oh my God. What is happening?
Come on, y'all.
Yes, that's
Oh, for real? I thought it was a joke.
Yeah. Real.
Is that Liz Cheney?
Of course, Liz Cheney is one of those. I think she's a Republican who is very anti-Trump. Let's see if we can get that freeze frame of the guy again. People thought it was a joke when this person stormed on stage. I mean, that's a white guy for Kamala right there. Is that not who the average white guy for Kamala is? Without it, like, not these guys who are yelling about it who don't actually know about politics, and they just see, like, they're just used to calling people racist in the 2000s to appeal to people and say, like, yeah, like, white people suck, that sort of person. Not that person. That person could be easily persuaded, given the correct facts and evidence. They would actually take the time to think about it. White guy that plays hockey and doesn't really know anything about it, but he just doesn't like the vibes. Or, you know, a black guy who just, like, hangs around with his friends, and, you know, the general sentiment on TV that they watch is that, like, you know, Trump's a racist guy. These people, these regular guys who are in their 40s, they can be reasoned with. The true white guys for Kamala are guys like that. They want to be a hot chick. They're trans. They work at, like, a budding indie video game company that hasn't yet gotten that ESG contract yet, where they make a bad game with trannies in it and then they get shut down because there's no sales. They used to work at Vice and Vox and now this, until they got caught for sexual harassment. They worked at CNN, and then they refused to come into work because, you know, they can do the same job remotely. Why won't you let me stay at home forever? Those are the white guys for Harris and Waltz. The white guys that are actually just, everything they do is to impress women. That's the true Democratic voter. And I have repeated this before because I feel like it's something that people need to understand. The person that you are typically against, and is not necessarily, you know, a Democrat, they're often, you know, if there was a different party in the U.S., they'd vote for a further left party. They'd be an AOC party voter. In Canada, they have the NDP. That's who they vote for. In other countries in Europe, they have a further left, you know, the Labour Party, and a further left party that they vote for. They're in their early 20s. They're an early 20 college guy who said, you know, like, he looked at Che Guevara shirts, he liked them. He looked at, you know, the history of Central and South America and American intervention in the drug war there, and he's anti-America now. That's one group. And then the other group is the guys who are 30 plus that, you know, they have zero idea how to talk to women. So the best thing they can do is be a woman or just agree with everything they say. That is who the white guys for Harris are. That is the actual definition of a white male Democrat voter, you know, who is sincere. College guy who doesn't know any better, and out of college guy who wants chicks. That's it. And then you got, I guess you can add in the corporate level of men who are doing this for business reasons, the Mark Cubans. Mark Cuban definitely thinks Button's just a better choice and that Kamala is just a better person temperament. And it's not at all because this is who his businesses are tied up with, and he wants to be able to appeal generically to mass media and mainstream media and social media. It's honest. Yeah. That's the real reason why these rich types float to left wing, because they think that they'll treat them better, even though they generally increase the taxes and red tape on gigantic businesses. They're used to it by now, so it's something that they're already used to, and they want to be able to have that access to Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel and all the other Jimmys, Jimmy Landscape and Jimmy Late Night, and they want to be able to be on social media without being suppressed, so they go along with the left-wing sources because it's like, you know, I might as well give in to the regime. At least they won't kill me when the gulag's open. They won't send me into slavery when the country goes communist. But that's always the opposite of what happens. That's the true white guy for Harris there. The true white guy for Harris is a guy who thought it'd be a great idea to get up on stage in a skirt and say something to Matt Gaetz, because Matt Gaetz is truly the devil. His far-right fascist views are what are ruining the country. And if I just get up there as a trans woman and show him how sane I am, I can become the next viral superstar. And again, a bunch of, you know, other weird obese people will find me sexually attractive. That is the end goal is so that I can, get with other trans people. The next story I want to talk about is a sports story. It is from Sky Sports. And Tom Brady, if you didn't know, I believe he owned partnership, or at least he's involved with Birmingham, the soccer club in England, which is where David Beckham is from. He's involved as well. That's a bit of the backstory. Another bit of the backstory is that there's another soccer team called Wrexham, with Wrexham. And they are owned by Ryan Reynolds and the guy from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the main writer behind that. I forget his name right now. So they had a match together against each other. And so this big celebrity thing. And, English people are very protective about their soccer, their footy leagues. So we have a guy on Sky Sports in England interviewing Tom Brady who's there, and it really seeps through how much disgust this guy has for Tom Brady and the chairman there, who's also an American guy. Keeping in mind that, the Boston Red Sox organization also owns Liverpool, one of the biggest teams in England, one of the 3 or 4 biggest teams in England. But this is how much this guy disliked Tom Brady, and we're not sharing the right one here. This is how, and this is how you get fired. I just want to show this is either how you get fired from a sports organization, or this is how you get Tom Brady, one of the wealthiest and most successful athletes of all time, to shit on you and make sure you never get that big interview again.
Tom, we've all found ourselves being sort of swept along by this game. It's really captured the imagination. Have you found that for yourself as well? Quite excited?
Yeah, it's a great night. You can feel the energy in the stadium. I know it's a sold-out crowd. We're excited. We got another great club that we're facing in Wrexham, but I feel like we're prepared. It's going to be a great match. If you love football, you should be watching this tonight.
Yeah, I noticed you say football and not soccer.
Well, it is football here. Yeah. There's actually Monday Night Football in America, and I was a part of a lot of those great events. And you always know as a player, it's just a different feeling at nighttime. And
you actually said football, not soccer. So the guy says the correct thing, the thing that you would want to correct him on, and you have a problem with it. That shows that he was prepared to say, actually, we call it football here. But Tom Brady's not an idiot. So he said the thing. He's trying to appeal to fans. He has a stake in this team in some shape or form, and he says football, and he says, well, it's football here. He's not stupid. And you say, oh, then if you said football and not soccer. So that's just part one of this guy getting on Tom Brady's nerves.
you know that everyone at home is watching. It's really exciting for our players.
How have you enjoyed the, what should we call it, social media jousting? And do you think you've struck an early blow with the video? I don't know if people saw it that you put on social media. I think you might have won that round for your team.
I did. You know, Eli Manning took a shot at me, and unfortunately, he's been a little bit of my kryptonite. So, don't worry, we're going to get him back tonight. So we're coming for him.
So he's been a bit of a nemesis for you in a couple of Super Bowls, right?
He's been a little nemesis for a long time, actually. But it's a friendly competition, friendly rivalry. I'm excited about tonight's friendly competition.
Let's bring up the Super Bowls that you lost, Tom Brady. We've got you here. You've come across the world to be here and give Sky Sports an interview. Let's talk about the Super Bowls you lost. Let's talk about the guy you lost the Super Bowls to. And even after the question about it, let me bring up the Super Bowls. We've talked about how he's your nemesis, but haven't you lost to him as well? Haven't you, even though you've won 7 Super Bowls, haven't you lost another 2 as well? And I know I'm sounding like a simp for Tom Brady here, and I am. But this is just so dumb. Did this guy just want to get this interview so he could shit on Tom Brady? I think when you work at this mainstream outlet and you get one of these big interviews, it's not politics, it's sports, it's fun. Tom Brady hasn't done anything wrong. He hasn't hurt you politically, economically. In fact, he's helping your economy. You get this big interview and you just want to do this, it gets worse.
Well, not so friendly. There's going to be a good rivalry between these 2 teams.
Yeah, for sure. Tom, how have you found it? I mean, how would you describe it? Slightly surreal, crazy, exciting? What would you go with?
Yeah, I think this is exactly what we hoped it would be when we bought
this is the other executive, Tom Wagner, I think it says. We're going to skip over him, but go and watch the full interview with this guy's question to him, because you can see the fact that there's 2 American guys running the show here. I think that's where the animosity comes from.
With some great football. And I just noticed going down the tunnel there, Tom Brady quotes everywhere. Absolutely. So since joining your setup, how much has he been able to help with that knowledge of elite sport, diet, nutrition, whatever it may be.
Why do you ask that like I'm not here? I'm right here.
I don't know. No, but I thought it'd be a nice...
But why ask Tom that?
Well, I think what Tom does...
Talk about embarrassing? Oh, my God.
No, I think it's the expectation that he sets. Right?
Tom Brady's here. Tell me about Tom Brady while he's standing here, about how much he's been able to impart on the players and how much he has spoken to them and the fact that they put up his quotes. He's standing right here. So it's getting tougher as the interview goes on to tell if this guy's just stupid or he really doesn't like the fact that Tom Brady, an American football star, is here and he's being forced to talk to him about soccer.
Right, and demanding elite performance and the right processes to achieve it. You don't achieve success or excellence by accident. And Tom is very demanding in that regard, and it's been great to have him around and to deliver that message on a regular basis.
So since you are here, demanding elite performance, do you feel like you have been able to chip in, help the guys?
I'd love to believe so, and I think a lot of that is going to hopefully show over time. There's obviously competitiveness that we all had. I had it when I was playing, but in this part of my life, I want to see other people reach their potential. And I was so fortunate that so many mentors came into my life at the right time that allowed me to grow physically, mentally, emotionally, and that mix of qualities that I was able to develop as a player, I want to pass those messages on to a lot of these guys. They're 22 years old, 21 years old. They got bright futures ahead. They want to impact their own families' lives. They want to impact the community that they play in. And how can we help support them as these young athletes in their aspiring career? That's what I love being a part of.
So have you found then, the more immersed you've got, you've thought even though there's so many differences between the two sports, you think actually I know stuff, I can help these guys.
Yeah, I don't think there's much difference in sports.
Do you think that even though you're a piece of shit, Tom Brady, and you don't know anything about soccer, do you think you've helped these guys? No, he's come here, he's done nothing to help them. There's nothing you can learn from a 7-time Super Bowl winner about sports, about competition, about mentality, about taking care of your body. The first time I watched this interview, I was yelling at Tom Brady to punch this guy in the face. I don't understand why he didn't punch this guy in the face. How many stupid questions can somebody ask? Hey, it's actually, you said football, I'm surprised. Hey, if Tom Brady was actually here, hey, do you remember those Super Bowls he lost? Hey, do you think you're a help at all to these players, or are you just a piece of shit, Tom Brady? That's what I'm getting across from this. And look at this freeze frame of Tom about how he's staring right in this guy's eyes and how he's trying to be nice, but afterwards he's going to call this guy a moron.
Sport. I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying to get the ball in the back of their net, and they're trying to get in the back of our net. It's the same thing in American football. It's a touchdown. It's not a goal, but you defend your offensive, your defense. You put together a good strategy. You work your butt off to try to prepare. As a player, you want to show up every day and give your best to your team. I really believe in discipline and accountability. I believe that the process for improvement is important every single day. And when you do that time after time, you put yourself in a great position to succeed on Monday Night Football, under the lights with a sold-out stadium. I don't care whether you're playing for a Premier League club or a League One club. The feeling's the same for all these guys.
Should we finish with a quick prediction? I presume you're not going Wrexham win.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. Too bad questions.
Well, I would love to see
I presume you don't want your team to lose. Look at this face. This is Tom Brady doing everything he can not to punch this guy in the face. And I applaud him for not going further and punching him in the face. Let's see how it ends.
Perform at our very best, and I always feel like may the best team win. I really would love that to be our club, but we got to go out there and earn it. That's what I'm excited about tonight.
Mr. Chairman?
Same exact thing.
The next time that Sky Sports has an interview with a gigantic star who's not a soccer player, this guy can't do it. You can't send him in. He insults the guy. He brings up the time that he's lost. He implies that he's got nothing to offer. He implies that he doesn't know the rules. He implies that, the sport's so different that he can't possibly give any insight to the players. And he talks about him like he's not there. This can't happen again. If you get Conor McGregor in there, maybe he's close enough because he's Irish. If you get Floyd Mayweather in there, if you get Rafael Nadal in there, or you get a baseball player from the U.S. in there, you can't have this guy. He's going to be asking them, well, they don't have bats in this league, so how are you going to tell them what to do? Or they don't have tennis rackets in. How are you going to give any advice to these players? What they should be doing is kissing his ass saying, please inject your money into our lower level soccer so that it makes more money and Sky Sports makes more money. But for me, he's deleted. No more non-soccer interviews. If that's what he does regularly, I don't know. But definitely no more interviews with people like Tom Brady. Let's jump back to Harris's campaign in the sense of endorsements. Now, Kamala Harris's campaign has been endorsed by the IRS-affiliated union, even though allegedly, according to the New York Post, her tax plan would cost 800,000 jobs. Let's read it. Vice President Harris's tax proposal would be costing the U.S. nearly 800,000 jobs, roughly twice as many as former President Trump's plan, according to a recent analysis. The Nonpartisan Tax Foundation think tank estimated that Harris's proposals would shrink the long-term GDP by 2% and reduce wages by 1.2% while lowering employment by roughly 786,000 jobs. It includes a corporation tax hike coupled with $50,000 in handouts for small business startups, $25,000 for the first-time homeowners, and $6,000 in expanded child tax credits. Now, I've become a big critic of tax credits and, benefits for people, because this is just taking other people's money and giving it to people who are not as well off. Now, in theory, that sounds like a good thing to do, but also in theory, it sounds like communism. You are taking money from people who are wealthier and giving it to people who have less money. You could, and bear with me here, you could just take people's money less. You could just not tax people as high. So instead of hiking the corporate tax and giving it, this is a literal redistribution of wealth, taking money from the rich and giving it to the poor. You could just not increase these taxes on corporations. Could just not tax them. And then in terms of $25,000 for first-time homeowners, you could just do the things that make houses less expensive. You could just do the things that make people want to have children more by making things cheaper, lowering taxes overall, which is what Donald Trump did for everybody, not just rich people. They always say just rich people. He never seems to say that he lowered taxes for all income tax brackets. You never seem to hear that he eliminated tax for people under a certain threshold as well, but he doesn't mention that for some reason. So just take the people's money less, and then people will have money to do these things. So what you have actually here is corporations paying for people to live better. Now, I'm no big fan of these large corporations. I don't like their temporary foreign workers. I don't like their foreign work visas. I don't like a lot of this stuff. I don't like their shit products that they're putting out. But I don't think taxation is the correct way to do things. I think we have seen through the donations to Israel, Palestine, and Ukraine that the countries in the Western world have tons of money floating around that they don't seem to know what to do with. Just give that back to the people. Just don't take it away in the first place. I have a friend who said, I got these new windows. I get a $5,000 tax rebate on it. And my thinking is, how about the government just doesn't take the money anyways, and you can afford the windows probably. Instead, it's collectively taking money from a different subset of people, a different tax bracket of people, giving it to you and saying, isn't that fair? That's how we make things fair, is by taking other people's money. But nobody can answer the question as to why people who make more money should be taxed more money. You can say societies haven't functioned well without higher taxes on the higher classes, but I have yet to find a question or an answer from people who say fundamentally and logically, why, if I make more money, do I owe the state more money than you do if you make less? It is quite literally the state taking more money from you for earning more at the threat of arrest, which is the threat of a gun. So this group, and think tanks are what they are, but they think it would be worse. They say the tax credits and other carve-outs would complicate the tax code, run more spending through the IRS, and together with various price controls, fail to improve affordability. Exactly. You're just increasing government engagement through taxing people more, making more tax codes, making more incentive for the government to be involved in these decisions. At least 177,000 jobs will be lost under the Harris administration. just by raising the net investment income tax rate from 3.8 to 5% and shifting the Medicare tax rate up to the same percentage. So they're going to raise your taxes. Another 131,000 jobs would vanish under expansion of the earned income tax credit provision of the American Rescue Plan, for Harris can cast a tie-breaking vote, as well as her campaign pledge to give $6,000 in tax credits to families of newborns. It's just the words that they use: tax credits, tax rebates. This is just taking money from other people and giving it to different people. I don't believe in that. I don't think that you would just be able to justify just going up to somebody and saying, you make 150 grand, I make 50 grand, give me 6 grand so I can be better off. But that's what the government does on your behalf. They say, other people deserve your money, we're going to take some of it and then trickle down the rest to other people. It doesn't work. Taxing unrealized capital gains is the most insane part of it. Unrealized capital gains of $5 million for individuals and $10 million for joint filers after death would cost 75,000 jobs. So, to my understanding, unrealized capital gains is you put an investment into something, you're taxed on the money that you might make before you even make it, and if you don't end up making it, then you're screwed. So you put $10 million into something that promises to make you $30 million. You pay taxes on that $20 million that you haven't made yet. And then maybe it goes bankrupt. Maybe you make nothing. Maybe you lose $10 million. Oh, sorry, you already paid X amount of money on that $20 million of gains that are unrealized gains that have not happened yet. So you're being taxed on money before you even get it. That's my understanding. Open to being proven wrong. Everybody's saying it's wrong. It's unrealized gains. You're getting taxed. You usually get taxed on capital gains, which means the money you make on top of your capital, from your capital, right? And this is unrealized money that hasn't even come in it yet, and you're being taxed on it. So the IRS agrees with Kamala Harris, of course, that they will get more money out of it. They will be able to shake corporations down, and therefore they will need more employees to do more work by getting stuff out of these companies and handing out rebates. That's why they're going to support it. On the other hand, the Teamsters do not support Kamala. And they didn't endorse Trump either, but the Teamsters president blasts successor for not backing Harris. The other title that I think was in the search engine for this is that the Teamsters union gets ripped on for not choosing a candidate, essentially. Let's read on. Excuse me. Former longtime Teamsters president Jimmy Hoffa, by the way, we're going by Jim now, blasted his successor on Thursday for the union's controversial decision not to endorse Harris for president. Hoffa accused the union's current leader, Sean O'Brien, of a failure of leadership, saying the Teamsters' non-endorsement would boost the campaign of former President Trump. He called it a critical error. Now, Jimmy Hoffa, it's a very famous name you've probably heard, and it is to do with him being, you might not even know that you heard this guy's name, because he was the leader of the Teamsters Union or the labor union. He goes on to say, there's only one candidate in this race that has supported working families. Obviously, Kamala Harris. Obviously, that's a stupid thing. It's actually the son of Jimmy Hoffa. I was wrong. Headed the union for 23 years before stepping down. He oversaw the presidential endorsement process 6 times. So, Jimmy Hoffa's father, super famous guy who was involved in the big union. I believe my recollection is that he was, really strong-armed the government into getting his endorsement because they controlled so much of the labor union. And, his son, I could get schooled in this, who knows, about Jimmy Hoffa, but his son is now saying, in every case, we supported the candidate that demonstrated a proven track record of fighting for American workers and unions. Obviously, that's a disqualifying statement to say that, Biden and Harris are awesome for working class people. Obviously, that's a moronic statement. Anybody who pays attention can argue against that. You don't have to like Trump. You don't have to be a Trump fan. You don't have to be a Republican. We just finished reading an article about how Democrats are going to raise taxes on corporations by 20%. So that's like, how can you say that? How can you say lowering or increasing taxes on businesses is good when you represent people who work for businesses? I don't know. You'd have to argue that the corporations being taxed will somehow benefit the employees. I don't agree with that. And this feeds into my larger narrative here is whether you get an endorsement from a union or not, it's actually not good. Theoretically, ideologically, it's actually not good. Tell me a person who works for a union that doesn't complain about them. Tell me how it's not strange or wrong morally for a union to be required for you to get a job. You know, electricians, cops, firemen, tradespeople. Typically you hear that you must be part of a union in order to work in a certain field. That's what you typically hear in many, many regions, a region in which I'm from. The unions also overwhelmingly vote left. They tell their people to vote left. Here in Toronto, they vote left. Here in New York, they vote left. In Chicago, they vote left. These are why these people are in charge. Teachers union votes left. The unions are a product of leftism. Now, whether you think they should exist or not is up to you. I lean towards thinking they should not exist at all. I don't see how you can abolish them without, destroying liberty, but I don't think they exist in most cases in a good way. I think maybe you get injured, your labor union can fight for you to get the pay that you deserve or pay for a lawyer that you might not be able to afford versus the large lawyers at the corporation can't afford. But other than that, I see it as a large detriment. I see it as them trying to form their own voting bloc, becoming very powerful people that are very influential and grease the wheels for themselves and otherwise force beliefs upon you. If your union works for you, that's wonderful. If they didn't force you to get vaccinated and they said we shouldn't be forcing our employees to be vaccinated, we're going to stand up for them, then good for you. If you can complain to them, a bunch of you, and they tell you, we will fight for you, even though we think it's not the best idea. You pay us, so we work for you. That would be good, but that's not how it works. In almost any case you hear about, that's not how it works. They say, it's not good to do that. Vote this way that we're telling you. We're not going to stand up for you. That's too bad. Dental plan, Lisa needs braces. Exactly. This is not how unions work. And, this will be probably one of the biggest things I disagree with some of the commentators I like Jimmy Dore, who's a progressive, he says. I think he's just steps away from being, to the dreaded right wing, whatever that is. But I agree with him on most things. But not when people start saying terms like the workers, that's sort of when I check out, because it is literal communist speak. And that's not just hyperbole. But the unions do a very bad job of representing the people that pay for them. So the idea, and I'm a guy who doesn't like following at all. I don't like being in a group at all. Unless it's a sports team, right? But I wouldn't just pay a union for nothing. I don't believe in this. I don't believe in forceful insurance taking. It'd be like having to pay for car insurance, and the car insurance act also gets to decide like your wages and also gets to decide whether or not an issue is worth fighting for on your behalf. I pay insurance because when the accident happens, I don't have to pay the full price, $20,000 to replace a car, etc. But that's something I go into. That's why I don't think insurance should be mandatory. Believe it or not, I'm Dean Cain. I don't think car insurance should be mandatory. I think it should be optional, like everything. Health insurance, optional. Maybe there should be a base level, a safety net from the taxation that covers these sorts of things on a low level. You get in a car accident, you have a lower income. Maybe there's a bit of money that can come from the taxpayer to help you out in that situation, to help you so that you can make minimum payments monthly to a person. Something can be figured out there. But with these unions, you are paying them monthly for them to tell you to vote left wing, for them to tell you, as we just read, that Kamala Harris is amazing, and they don't poll you. That he's no longer the head of the union, and they're not endorsing it. So in a sense, they are doing the right thing here. But do unions poll you on what they want to say publicly? Did that labor union poll its people on, say, who do you want us to endorse? I don't know. Maybe they did, but I've never heard of that before. I have a friend who works in medicine. I've never heard him say that they've polled him and his friends about a position. I have heard him say that him and his friends have to go complain over and over again and spread like sentiment throughout. It's like a political campaign. But these are people who work for you. That's the insane thing, is that they're taking your money and then you're not in charge of them. Do you have a cleaning lady that tells you what to do? Does your insurance company say, we're endorsing Kamala Harris on your behalf? I think there's a huge argument to be had for, a large shift away from unions, especially the teachers union, who's responsible for all the crap that gets put into your children's itinerary, curriculum. I think there's a big argument to be had to completely steer away from it. And I think people are largely like, are people going to care that the IRS supports them? No. Are people going to care that the Teamsters don't really support them? No. But the people who are affected by it are the people in these unions who get pushed around by these union officials. And you better believe they're checking who you voted for. Just going to leave that there. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Go to the Patreon account. Subscribe. Bonus interviews there. Bonus podcasts. Almost said it in the South. We'll finish it that way. Patreon.com/UOPod. Don't forget to sign up there. Thank you for all the audio listeners on Spotify, Apple Music, and iHeartRadio. Subscribe on X. Subscribe on YouTube and Rumble. We'll see you next week.
Turn it up, Jordan.